So this is Elena Volkov, and now I will turn on build variants, and I will remind you that build variants, they allow you to control how user interface looks like for the build, and on the fly select target platforms for the build. This is an example when I'm running build. This is added by build variants, and here we have a list of target platforms which user can choose on the fly. So during the sprint, we were analyzing and trying to improve the error messages, because during this function init build variants, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it contains some complex logics when you want to select, for example, and filter target platforms. And in some cases, there can be exceptions initiated by this. That can happen inside this init build variants function. And previously we were not reporting correctly these exceptions, but they were you could find them only in the errors log here. But now we have improved the handling of exceptions, and now exceptions are caught and reported. So this is an example of the code that, for example, can cause an exception, is when you are using in this function add common utils, when you are using wrong type, then there will be an exception. So now we can see what will happen. First of all, this dialog, so it contains a copy of all of the messages from the console. So we can check in the console that here we have an error message saying that there was an exception, and also there is a part of the call stack starting from this init build variants. And one more improvement is that we are pointing to the position in this JavaScript in build variants JS, which caused this exception. So we can check here that line 22, this code caused this exception. So now it's much easier to debug and the exceptions that happen inside this init build variants. Also, we have added, so now I will comment this, and I will show you some more errors that are now reported. For example, if in these alternatives, if one of the alternatives is null, so I have Win64, and for some mistake, this object is null. So before it caused a null pointer exception, but now if you have occasionally used a null object, then you will get a message about it. So it says alternative is null, and also the alternatives are printed, and you can see which actually alternative was null. So now you can visually see that it was the last alternative, which is null. And also these messages, they contain the position from which the evaluation of the script failed, and at which point we found during the evaluation of this build variants, we found that there is an error. So now we see that it is actually line 26, because we understood only when we were doing this add, we were adding target platform, the evaluation understood that an alternative is null. So it will point you to this position. So this is a position for the evaluated position at which we found an error message. So there are other type of error reporting that we have added, like this. For example, if you are using add with the wrong type of object, for example, if you will pass a string or a null, then it will also be reported like this. So I will not run build. Here we have an error message saying wrong object of wrong type passed to BVF add. So we got this any string, and this is a string which is not correct. And also a warning saying null object is passed, and it prints you the objects, and you see that last object is null. And also it points to the position in the script from which we understood that something is wrong, and it is line 27. So also these positions, they will be printed even if you explicitly use call format error or format warning from init build variance. So if you explicitly call report an error message, you do your own checks in this initialization, and you call this format error function, then there will be an error printed, and so it is visible here, and also in the build variance console, and it prints you the position apart from your message, also the position in the script. So this is this will make slightly easier for the developers of the build variants to detect the problems. Also, the printing of positions gives you a small improvement. Is that if you want to check and to debug by debug prints what is going on, then you can just put this to different places in the script, so like this, and you can insert absolutely the same message like I did for checkpoint, for example, like this, and then when you will run build, then you will get this debug prints, and it will say you the position at which it was printed, this message. So this may be useful if you want to debug by debug prints what is happening in your init build variance function. So this is all. One comment is that we noticed that this dialog failed to init build variance. It actually sometimes looks a bit messy with all of this information, and all of this information, it is copied also in the build variance console, and here it is more readable to check it through the build variance console. So one of the ideas for the next sprint was to actually not to print this information about warnings and errors to this dialog, but just say that initialization of build variance failed and check console for more information. So this is one of the improvements that I think we will discuss for the next sprint about this. Do you have any questions?
Is the same information available in problems view? Because I guess no. The biggest problem here is locating these lines and so on.
No, actually not yet. So we just made the first step in these improvements. And now we don't check and we don't parse this build variants console. So currently it's not possible to navigate by double clicking. You don't have it in the problems view. So maybe that is another improvement, that we should show all these messages in the problems view. So that's a good idea. So that's all for me. Thank you. And now I will stop sharing.